What is up? And welcome to another episode of the Worship Based Coffee Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Soleil, and welcome in. Glad to have you aboard. If this is your first time joining us, thank you for listening and welcome to the Worship Based Coffee community. If you're a veteran, thank you for choosing to listen again and coming back. Today, we are in season 2, episode 2, and I have a special guest, David Puleo of Puleo Guitars. He's worked with Bethel Music. He's worked with Josh Baldwin, and I'm just grateful to have him come on. You know, there's been times, and I share about it at the beginning, about how when I've been over there and he's been working on my guitars or building guitars for me, and he has shared some stories that I just thought would be great for you guys to hear. So I'm excited for y'all to get to hear that and get to know more about him. So that'll be great. Also, just letting y'all know the reason why Josh is not in this particular episode, nothing bad. He just had some dad stuff going on. And so I told him, hey, you know what? Family first. It's all good. And so it'll be just me and David on this one. And Josh will be back on the next one. So anyway, with all that said, let's just get into it right now. David, what's up? Welcome to the Worship Based Coffee Podcast.
Good to be here, bro. We finally did it.
I know. We were just talking about that before it started, how it's been months in the making, but I was like, you know what? It's God's perfect timing, because this was the perfect opportunity for it to come out. Season 2 is out and moving. And so you're episode 2 in season 2. So
right on, man. Very cool.
I'm happy to have you on too. Just gotten to know you more over the past few months since you've moved into town. And so I thought it would be cool to hear some this to the viewers out there. I want you to hear some of the stories that I've got to hear when I've gone over to the shop, and I'm like, dang it, I wish a camera was recording right now.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll try to remember all of them.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, one of the ways I like to kick it off is just kind of ask you, what does a typical week look like for you?
Oh, man. Well, I mean, I think that's part of the fun of it now is because I've got my hand in so many different areas of the guitar world. Each week is a little bit different, which makes it exciting, as opposed to, my old desk job, 9 to 5. So,
right.
The core of my work is basically I'm like a car mechanic for guitars. Moving to Nashville has been one of the best things because there's so many local musicians here. So I might get all of my work done for the week and get through the end of the day on Saturday, and Sunday I start getting texts from guys. Hey man, are you available this week? Do you have any open spots? My guitar's acting up, my bass is acting up. And so Monday, the way I thought it was going to look on Saturday, when I get to Monday, it might look completely different. And that's fun for me. I don't have like a storefront, but it's fun having all of these different musicians come over to my house, come into my shop. I get to meet new people every week. And find out a lot about people and then work on their gear. And so that's one part of it. The other part of it is the guitar building side, which is how we first met. And, I'd say the way our relationship started is typical to the way things were back when I lived in Redding, California. Most people either shipped me their gear, or I built things for them and then shipped it out to them. And so a lot of people I never got to see face to face. So that's been one
Right.
of the best parts about moving to Tennessee is I get a lot more of that, face-to-face interaction.
Nice.
I got to know my UPS, FedEx, and all of the shipping companies. Those guys really well. They
Yeah.
kind of became my buddies, man, because I was shipping so much gear from my little house in Reading. But yeah, that's how we first met. And all of our interaction was through DMs on
Yeah.
Instagram, I think, and then maybe texting after that. And so it's been fun to get to meet you in that way. So that's like the second piece is the guitar building piece, and then the third piece is the pedal board side, which is also similar in the sense that so much of that I did in California, and it was guys just shipping me all of their pedals, their pedal boards, all that stuff, man. And I would never get to meet them face to face. Maybe we would do a FaceTime if we needed to, but most of it was through messages. And occasionally, when I was on the road with Bethel, I would meet different people, through that, and that was actually a big connecting piece for me, moving forward in business. But yeah, a lot of it was just through messaging people. And so this past year, since I moved to Tennessee, that's been one of the best parts about being here is just having people in the house all the time. So
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about your Bethel time. I'm just curious, like, you know, how you ended up in Reading. Were you originally from California, and just kind of tell that little bit of.
yeah, no, I wasn't from California at all. I've always been an East Coast guy. And so when we made the decision to move out there, it felt like we were going to the other side of the world. I mean, California's a whole different ballgame, man, from the East Coast. It's really cool. It's a really beautiful, honestly, one of the most beautiful places in the country, I think.
Yeah.
Um, not to get into political stuff or taxes or all that,
Right.
but, some of those areas are a little bit maybe more simple in other parts of the country.
True.
California can be a little bit more interesting with that. And, when we moved here, man, the tax break was a big one. But anyway, moving out there, it was all relationally based. I had a few friends who had moved out there over the years. And so there was a little bit of connection there. Of course, Bethel music, their worship, Bill Johnson speaking, all of that stuff I had heard over the years. And it had always been something that impacted me personally and our family. And then there was like a period of maybe 5 years where I played for Kim Walker on and off. Whenever the Jesus Culture band wasn't available and she was doing something maybe on the East Coast or, she needed band guys, we had made a connection years ago. And she would call me up for different random things. And a lot of people don't realize this, but Jesus Culture was the youth group band for Bethel years ago.
Right.
And then at a certain point, maybe around 2013, 2014, I think, they moved to Sacramento and started their own church because things were growing so much. So
Right.
Kim Walker was also another big connecting piece. And then musician buddies and all of that. And so my kids were getting to the age, like youth group age. And we were just kind of at a point in life. I had started my business in North Carolina. I'd only been doing it there for a year. And things were kind of wide open. It was really like, man, we could do anything. Obviously, this is risky, in the sense of there's no guarantee that my business will do well moving to another town. And then, we were leaving behind a few decades of friends that we had built in our adult lives on the East Coast. And so that
Right.
also felt big and a little scary. But we had a few friends in Reading. Josh Baldwin was one of them. Joe Volk, one of the drummers out there, was another one. And then some random people that I had met over the years. And so, yeah, man, we did it. We made the drive across the country with our family, which was a lot of fun. Saw a lot of things that, we had never gotten to see, different
Right.
national parks and all that. And we just made it fun. It was like a 2-week experience, had our stuff shipped out there. And we just kind of jumped right in as soon as we got there. Obviously, whenever you join a big church, it can feel a little daunting. Like, how am I going to meet people and all of that? And so thankfully we had a few friends, but even that, it was like, coordinating, are we going to go to church together at the same time? How is that going to work? And I remember waiting online, with our fam, like the first 2 to 3 months that we had moved there, we would just get there early. We'd get online. There was a line outside in the front of the church and just wait to get in, man. And that was kind of special, especially like after working at churches for years where I had the key to the back door,
Right.
and I could go in whenever I wanted. It was fun to re-experience church from I'm new here and no one really knows me. And I kind of needed that personally, like in my spiritual journey at that point as well. And
Yeah.
even just as a musician, I didn't move there for the worship team. It really was just our kids were at that youth group age and we were like, man, it'd be cool for them to experience something different, something new. And it was really the perfect timing, man. They were, I think, like 13 and 11. And so, middle school age-ish. And they had the best youth leaders at the time. And all the way through their high school years, that was such a big thing for them. And then within 2 to 3 months, I thought I'd want a longer break from doing worship stuff. And enough friends kind of like twisted my arm. And also after being there 2 to 3 months and just being like, I'm still establishing my business. I don't have a lot to do yet.
Oh, true.
It was like, I actually think just on a non-musical side, purely relational side, serving is one of the best ways to get to meet people.
It is.
It really is, man. And so, which is funny because, when I was leading stuff at another church, that's what I would always tell people. But sometimes you forget
funny.
what you tell
Yeah.
people, and you just kind of have to be back in that position of, no one knows me yet. And how do we want to approach this? And that was like one of the best ways for us. And so when I joined the worship team, I had to send in did a video. I think it was to Lion and Lamb. And,
Nice.
got accepted. And I just kind of made it like a point that because the worship team was so big and so multiple campuses, literally I was playing with different people. It felt like every single time I played, it was never the same team.
Right.
And so I was like, man, this is a lot of people to meet, And so I would just find one person each weekend and that I felt like I could connect with potentially, and be like, dude, you want to get coffee this week? Because again, I had time. And so we would just go get coffee. I'd get to know them. And that was like the kind of the perfect way for me to get to slowly know people. And it ended up being so much fun, man. And, within like 6 months of being there, I had joined the production team as well. I'm not like this amazing audio guy, but I know, from understanding like audio signal path, I know enough
Right.
to where I can be useful in certain situations. And I had joined the production team. I think I worked like my first 2 days. And my first 2 days was helping BM load up some trucks for a tour. And so I was like loading the gear for the tour, amps and all the backline stuff. And it was me and one other audio guy. And our supervisor knew that I worked on guitars and knew that I did that stuff for my normal job. And he, had me jump in, had me help. And it was like 2 days after that, they had just started the tour. I think they had done one show at the Greek Theater in LA. And I get a text from him and he's like, hey, can you be on a plane tomorrow? This was on a Sunday. He's like, can you be on a plane tomorrow and then come out with us for the next 2.5 weeks? And this was for the Outcry tour. We were doing it with Elevation and Mosaic. And this was 2018. And so, my business was still growing. I had done a couple things, built a couple pedal boards for some guys in town at that point, and was slowly working on guitars for guys in Reading. But also Reading is not like this massive musical community. The musical community really is Bethel Church and then a few other churches in town. And then there are like a few guys that played locally in bars. And that's really it. I know Merle Haggard had like a ranch out there. And he loved Reading, and there was like a cafe where it was his booth that he would always sit in and that kind of deal. But that was like really the only musical connection.
I think I remember you saying that Reading was had kind of a island almost kind of feeling the way that it was.
Yep. Also, it's like Survivor, man. Are we gonna survive that or be on the mission field? It was that kind of vibe.
Right. Well, another thing I just wanted to mention, I love that you mentioned how, you knew one of the fastest ways to make those connections, was serving, but then also how the first thing you did was ask somebody for coffee to go to get to meet them. I love that because that's actually one of the things that the reason for the coffee and the worship-based coffee is that very thing, is like just an reminding encouragement to people to invite somebody from your own worship team out for coffee, get to know them, whether it's in your house or or at a shop somewhere, just to like get to know people. So that's awesome.
Yeah, man. It was obviously you're kind of putting yourself out there because you just met this drummer, at 6:30 a.m. and, you went over like 4 or 5 songs and then you're hanging out and you're kind of like, hey man, you want to go get some coffee? But I just kind of, I was just kind of like, dude, I'm new here. And just tried to be as natural and normal as I could.
Yeah.
Not in a grabby way, but just like, I genuinely would just like to get to know people and see what this is all about. And it really was like the best way for me.
Yeah.
And then kind of like where I was going with the story, like the second best way was getting that job and then being asked to go out on that tour. That was really where everything like ramped up for me in a big way.
Yeah.
And so I talked it over with my wife and I was like, 2.5 weeks, like we haven't done that in a long time. And our kids were, all like between the ages of 13 and maybe like 7 or 8. So, which is a big difference from when they're babies.
Yeah.
And everybody's not potty trained yet, And so my wife was like, yeah, go for it, and that's the other thing with her. Whenever it comes to tours and travel and all that, man, I always ask her, are we still good? How are we feeling with all this? I always check in on that. Cause I don't have to keep doing it,
Right.
I feel like it's something that, God's given me opportunities to do, which opportunities don't always mean it's the right thing, but they keep coming. And so I always check in with her and like, how we feeling? What's the vibe? And that ended up being like a new period of touring with the kids that age that really ended up being great. And they were at an age where they could all help do chores around the house.
Nice.
And it was just a completely different experience than when I tried to travel years ago where the kids were all little. That was a different situation. So, so it ended up being awesome, man. I loved going out with BM. I kind of got thrown right into the fire. It was like they had already done rehearsals. They'd already done a night. And it was just like, here we go. You know, I didn't know bus etiquette. I didn't know what are shower rooms. Like, I didn't know any of that stuff. I just, you know, there's a lot of little things that you kind of pick up that are normal for people who tour all the time, and do become normal for you as time goes on. But it was like, okay, wow. But what was really fun about it was elevation. So many of those guys that were on that team at the time were buddies from Charlotte, North Carolina, which is where I was originally from before I moved to Reading. And they were all guys that I had played with over the years in different musical situations. I played at Elevation for like 6 months at one point. And it was like this big family reunion, man. The Helsers were out there, and I had known them from the North Carolina days. Luke and Molly Skaggs were out there. So it was just like this. Oh, sorry. Actually, Luke and Molly Skaggs were not out there at the time, but there were a lot of connections that it was just cool to be in a completely different situation in my life and then be doing this stuff again with these people. And I kind of like realized, which this feels so simple, but it's like, man, like treat people well and do your best to keep good relationships with people and be kind to people, because man, they will come back around.
Right.
Like whether you think it or not, like I'm moving across the country. I'm never going to see these people again. Like they will come back around. And, you know, if you can do your best to have good, relationships with people, it goes a long way, man, because there are so many people where it's like a decade has gone by, but we're both still in the music industry in some way, and they come back around and we're at some random venue together. Hey dude, what's up? And it, you know, it just reminds me like I'm glad that I was kind to this person, you know?
Right.
And that we can smile at each other when we see each other.
Right. So did you when they called you, was it because they were like having issues with guitars or whatever, or setups?
Yeah, sorry, man. I skipped that part of the story.
You're good.
Yeah, it was the over-encompassing thing was backline. So taking care of all of the gear. Of course, I didn't know much about drums or, you know, whatever, but, you know, helping maintain and care for all that stuff, get it set up. And then guitars was really like my specialty.
Yeah.
Which, you know, BM is known for their guitars. That's one of the things in basses as well.
Yeah.
And acoustics, like Brian Johnson, he's known for his acoustic tone. And so, that was really something that I could bring a little bit extra to that area, some expertise, even if I was like lacking in knowledge in some of the other aspects of backline and touring and all of that. And of course, all those guys at that point, like they had all been to my shop in Reading. They had all dropped off their gear. And so it's kind of wild, like within that 6 months, I remember at one point looking around on stage and I'm like, I've already worked on everyone's stuff.
Right.
Whether it was a setup or a pedal board build or whatever. And, you know, with amps, I'm not like an amp tech, but I could do basic stuff like change tubes, fuses. The AC30s that Bethel loved to use, the Korg era, they were eating up a lot of fuses, man. and a lot of tubes. And so that was something that, was a constant thing that I was keeping my eye on. And so I just kind of dove right in and met new people. And, beyond the church world of things at Bethel, I got to know people within the Bethel music world as well, which they intertwine a lot. But they're also, Bethel music is its own thing. It's its own music label. They have their own set of offices and staff and all of that stuff.
Right.
So it was cool to kind of cross over into that world as well, and just be out on the road with friends, man. It was the best, and the Mosaic team was amazing. The Elevation team was awesome. Like, it was just so much fun, man. So,
well, I would love to hear kind of obviously that was kind of like fast forwarding in your life, but I'm curious, like, how you got started even playing guitar and
man, guitar. I'm trying to remember it. Like, it really goes back to probably being 12 or 13 and just listening to music. Like, I just remember there was a point where, and back then it was like late 80s, early 90s for me.
Nice. Yeah.
And so Casey Kasem did the top 40.
Yep.
And, just listening to the radio. And my parents having records. I remember they had like some old Beach Boys stuff, some Elvis stuff, and, the tactile experience of like putting the record on the player and listening to that. It was all cassettes back then for me, and CDs came later. But when I really was getting into music, it was all cassettes, and I would make mixtapes, off of the top 40. Like, oh man, I love this Paula Abdul song,
right?
Or whatever, man. And so I would make my favorite mix of songs and just kind of absorbing all of that. And the music was so good. And at that time, like, still, they would have been playing stuff from the late 70s and early 80s as well on the radio. It wasn't just whatever was like
current.
It was, the top 40 could be a wider range, and he would always tell a story behind those top 40 songs as well. And that was awesome, man. Like,
I know
you'd find stuff out, I remember Michael W. Smith was in the top 40 at one point, and he told the story about him, like, realizing that a certain type of popcorn would help, like, smooth out his vocal. And that always stuck with me, man. It's such a weird little fact. But anyway, I was absorbing all the music. And then as I got into my teenage years, I was really like, I think Forrest Gump had just come out.
Nice.
And man, the soundtrack for that movie
so good
was insane. And it was like that time period of like the 60s and the 70s.
CCR, all that.
Yep. And
stuff.
that was maybe my gateway to some of that music, and which led to like the Doors, the Who, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, that whole era. And I remember having like convos with my dad because he was born in the 50s. And so he was a teenager in the 60s. He actually went to Woodstock.
I love it.
Doesn't remember a lot of it. But he remembers like hitchhiking on the highway to get there. He grew up in Brooklyn, New York. And so Woodstock, New York, upstate New York, they like all hitchhiked to get there. And so even that connection, like, oh, my dad experienced this music. What was he listening to as a kid? And so kind of like diving into that, and really the Beatles was a big one. I think the Beatles anthology came out when I was in high school, and I remember watching that documentary and being really intrigued by all of that. And the guitar is just really being something at the forefront. I mean, guitar at that time was the thing,
Yes.
and it was such a prominent part of the music. And even into the 70s, like I loved the Eagles, the Doobie Brothers, Led Zeppelin, I worked at Pizza Hut, and when we would close at night, there was a jukebox that was in like the dining area. And so once everyone had left for the night and we were cleaning and doing all that stuff, we'd all take turns picking out songs on the jukebox.
Nice.
And I remember they had Led Zeppelin 4 in there, and I would turn on Levee Breaks and Stairway to Heaven. And I just remember man, musically, they are tapping into something here that I can't even explain. Like, this isn't a 4-minute song, radio song. Like, this is another type of thing.
I know.
Like, what is that, man?
Yeah.
Them jamming like that and taking an arranged song and then going further with it was so intriguing to me as well. The drum sound on Levee Breaks, just like, what is that, dude? But yeah, guitars were so intriguing to me. Of course, Jimi Hendrix was so intriguing, man. And it wasn't until I was 17, though, that I picked up a guitar and started playing, which is kind of wild because most guys start a lot younger.
Sure.
And I'm not exactly sure why 17, but 17. And I remember some of the first songs I learned were Eagles songs. It was like Desperado, Tequila Sunrise, and then also Flood by Jars of Clay. Because that was like the album, and then some DC Talk, like Jesus Freak songs as well.
Heck yeah.
And so the mix of what I was first learning is hilarious, but it was all very informative and very helpful. And it was all on acoustic. When I first started, it was acoustic. That's all I really wanted to play.
Nice.
Also, okay, so here's what led me to wanting to play acoustic. It was the unplugged era of MTV.
Yes.
And MTV was such a big deal still then. And man, like Kurt Cobain's unplugged album, it was them, it was Live, the band. And it was Eric Clapton's Unplugged, where he did like Layla, Tears in Heaven.
I know. So
all
good.
those songs acoustically, man. And I was just so like drawn to that sound. And then the Eagles, it makes sense that because they had the Hell Freezes Over album, which was also all acoustic. So there was just kind of something happening in that 90s, mid 90s to late 90s era where everybody was doing acoustic stuff. And it was really cool.
And Jars of Clay too. Like
Jars of Clay.
Mentioned.
Yeah. The acoustics were so like prominent on Flood. And it sounded like there were like 10 of them. Stacked. I don't know what all they were doing, but 12 strings. And, I was just like, man, like this is really cool, man. And so, I was going
to say, I remember seeing them in concert and they didn't even have a bass player. It was just like acoustic guitars, drums, and some keys, and that was it. But it was like three acoustic guitars,
Dude, okay.
So just so funny.
That's wild, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that pulled me into it. And then electric, of course, I was like always fascinated by it, and I bought one. My first guitar was a Les Paul, Epiphone Les Paul. I think it was 3 humbuckers. It might have been like the triple humbucker, gold hardware. And I got like a Zoom 505 pedal, and a Marshall solid state, like mini stack thing. And I just kind of had it. And it was like I would jam with my friends and all that. But it wasn't until later that when I started getting into worship music, And I was on a worship team where they had enough acoustic players.
Mm.
And literally the decision just came down to, dude, you own an electric guitar. So how about you play electric, which is hilarious.
Hey, wherever the need
that's
was.
how it was. That's how it was
Yeah.
back then, man. And so it's like, dude, you own an electric guitar, be our electric player. And that opened up a whole other world of listening to things differently. The rhythm thing I already had down from the acoustic thing, but even that, the approach to it, with power chords or different inversions and shapes and all of that stuff, man, it really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And Stu G, who's now been here to the shop, he actually lives like a few streets over.
Nice.
He in the worship realm was so informative.
Yes.
To even just finding sounds and tones that could work in worship songs.
Yeah.
And the EBO, I bought an EBO because of him. Slide, all of that stuff, man. And so that was, looking back at that time in the 90s, because you still had to get a CD. You had to buy the CD. I'd go to like Lifeway Christian store or whatever. And when a new worship album came out, I'd purchase it. And Vineyard was a big part. There was a guitarist named Glenn Pierce in the Vineyard who sounds to me a lot like David Gilmour, which I love. I was a big David Gilmour fan.
Yeah.
And so I was like, dude, he's bringing David Gilmour in worship. This is insane. These massive sustained solos.
Yeah.
And
I remember you talking about U2 and them having that same influence, too. On all of that.
All of that was such a big part. I feel like I could be wrong on my timeline. I feel like U2 really influenced worship music like 2000, like early 2000s.
Right.
Although you can hear some of it in Delirious as well. Which is
I mean,
cool.
they were around since the 80s.
They were doing the sounds that we were doing in 2006 in 1986. The edgy stuff, all that dotted A stuff. But yeah, man, it was a special and like very fun time, and really just trying to absorb as much information. And it felt like the sounds and the information just kept coming at me. And simultaneously at that time, the gear market as well started changing. So when, my first pedal board I put together, it was like all individual Boss pedals. But then it was like early 2000s when Full Tone came around, I think. At least that's when I heard of it. And it was like the Full Drive 2 and some of those like hand wired pedals. I was like, dude, there are people, building these things, in their garages or whatever. I didn't know about the Klon at the time. I guess that had been around since the 90s. But yeah, that also was like exciting, eye-opening. Line 6. I remember seeing the first like Line 6 pod, early 2000s, late 90s. And it was a new era, even if it all didn't sound great yet. Some of that digital stuff. It was a new era where there was just a lot of cool stuff being made all of a sudden, where it felt like maybe there was a break for a while.
Sure.
I could be wrong about that. But it felt like this influx of gear. And now we're in, some people call it the golden age. It's like overwhelming how much stuff there is.
Yeah. It's crazy. That's wild. So you had transitioned, started playing in your church. Like, can you talk kind of about like your first experiences of getting to serve?
Oh man. I mean, back then there were no in-ears, or if there were, it was like only certain people had them, and they probably didn't sound good either.
Right.
I don't think there was really much low end in your
Right.
drivers at that point. It was all like mids and highs. But it was like floor wedges or hot spots. I remember
Right.
certain churches
Yeah.
had hot spots where it was like up on a little mic stand and
Yeah.
there's a little knob and you'd turn it up or turn it down. And
That's right.
but we didn't know any different. And I feel like the people that I had around me the people at my home church were very patient and encouraging.
Nice.
So that was a cool experience. It's funny though, when you're at your home church, if your home church is not big and it's not like an influencing church, and I don't say that in a negative way, but
No, yeah.
your home church doesn't have albums like Bethel that go all over the world.
Right.
It's just your home church. And, you think if you advance and you get better at what you do, you can end up being the best in your circle.
Sure.
And you don't know any different. And so you're like, dude, I've got this down, man. I know what I'm freaking doing. And for me, it was very eye-opening when I moved and started playing in other worship situations, other churches, with other teams. And you quickly realize, there are so many better musicians out there than I am.
Right.
I just remember it's like I enjoyed my experience learning and playing. And again, like so many people had patience with me. When I got in new situations where when you hear a guy hit a note, whether it's on bass or drums or guitar, and there's a tone and there's a way that they hit it, and you just know it's different. You're like,
yeah,
something different's going on there, man. And it can be one note that you hear. You're just like, dude, they played that differently than, that G chord is different than I've heard anyone around me ever play.
Right.
And there's something more to that. And you're like, oh, okay. And it could be a combination of the way they hit the guitar, of course, but then also their tone. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
And so that, for me, hearing that both on albums, but then like experiencing it in person, being around musicians all of a sudden that are way better than me, really like it was like a thing that grabbed onto me. And if my perspective on it, I was always like amazed by the shredders. But I'm not a shredder because I never desired to be one.
Right.
I always loved Eddie Van Halen and like the sound and what he was doing. And, but I was always like, man, like the pop serving the song, which sometimes maybe there is shredding within that, but like the pop, the serving the song, that the parts that, always like drew me more. And then even like the sound of that thing within the song. And the sound was a big way for me to get into it. It was like, how does this make me feel? Like, what are my emotions when I hear this sound? And how do I reproduce this sound? And so that kind of led me down, that journey of playing guitar, trying to figure out what that sound was, but then also like on a technical side, both from the audio side of things as well as the musician gear side of things. How does all that come together to create this sound that we're hearing that's like so inspiring? Because I would hear other guys play the same solo or intro lick or turnaround or whatever, but their tone wasn't the same. And I'm like, that doesn't do half for me of what the original tone does. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I knew like there was something about the sound and the tone and the way they're hitting it but then even you run into guys that are hitting it right and playing it right, but the tone's not there. And so it's still like, man, it's all of it.
Yeah. It's a recipe,
It's a recipe, man. And, And, I've seen situations where because of what the artist was looking for, the guy who maybe couldn't shred as much but had better tone was chosen in that
Right.
situation because
Yeah.
it's like, hey, we just need you to do this well and do it simply and sound good.
Yeah.
And he did it. He delivered
Yeah.
it. Um, and then of course I've seen other situations where the guy who can shred gets the
Yeah.
job and well deserved as well. So yeah, man, all of that was just kind of like coming at me, and I was just eating it up, man.
Yeah. There's a
The
little bit of
the
those
hours and the
ingredients.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. Coming into you
What
in your
what
life. So,
mic and what preamp and what, all of that stuff, man, was so exciting.
that's
So,
awesome. Well,
and
how
still
did,
is.
yeah, exactly. How did you get to a point to where you were uh, like fixing guitars, fixing, pedal boards, all
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. So for me, it definitely started with my own gear. Um, and when you're poor and you only have one guitar
Yeah.
and only one pedal board, you're like, man, I need this thing to work. And, you know, the the availability of people who could repair things was way less than what it is
Sure.
now. Now we
Yeah.
have guys that are, in Nashville, there's a embarrassment of, people that can do all kinds of
Yeah.
specific things. Where before, you know, I don't, aside from like Bob Bradshaw and some of those early pedal board builders, I don't remember there being a guy like in a city or a town that's like, he's the pedal board
Right.
builder,
Right.
And so I just, you know, started learning that stuff. And for pedal board, it started with like signal chain. I remember George L's cables had just come out, so you
Mm-hmm.
didn't have to know how to solder.
Right.
And so I rewired my whole board using those originally, learning about power. I think I was using like the one spot and like multiple daisy chains, which
Yeah.
now we know you don't want to do. But back
Yeah.
then, you just make it work. And then on the guitar side of things, it was like somehow I was blessed with a guitar where the neck, I guess, just didn't move very
Hmm.
much. And it was easy to play. The intonation was good. It stayed in tune. And I would maybe take it to someone every couple years. It was like there was a cool place in Pensacola when I lived there, called Blues Angel Music, and they were old school music store. They did work on tube amps. A guy named John Landgraf who built guitar pedals, who now is deceased. He
Mm.
was a bit of a legend in like hand wired guitar pedals and amp repair. And then the guy who owned the shop, Jim, he could do like a basic setup, and it got me going. Like it was enough to kind of just work with. And I just got to know my guitar by feel at that point. Oh, something's changed. What?
Right.
Maybe I can figure out what has changed. And if I couldn't, then I would take it to him, but it felt very rare. I feel like I took it more to him for like project type stuff. Like I need you to drill holes or do whatever.
Right.
But I could just kind of tell like the saddles need to come down or up, or there's some buzzing. Like let's just make these little adjustments. And I run into a lot of musicians like that today, where guys are like, they set it up themselves when they bring it to me. They want to see what I'll do, but they do a pretty good job. Like, there are maybe little things, but it's like, man, you did a pretty good job on your own. And I guess that's what I was doing without really knowing how to do it.
Sure.
And so I was just maintaining my stuff for a long time. And then buddies saw that I was good at it, that I would play with, guys in the band or whatever. And then they would bring me their stuff. And I remember the first time I soldered in my own pickups.
Hmm.
I soldered my own pedal board. That was huge. It took me like days to do it, um, and, learning how to do that. And then slowly starting to, um, understand and learn like numbers for guitars and measurements and all of that. And so I got to the point to where it was pretty much like all of my friends around me were bringing me their stuff. Um, and whether it be a guitar, a bass, or a pedal board, um, and even amps like tubes and stuff like that, basic stuff like that. Um, and it just kind of became like a normal thing that I was doing that was maybe like a hobby on the side. But I never entertained it being a business.
Right.
It was like out of necessity. And then sure, I'll help my buddy out. And that's basically it. And it was years later, man. I mean, now, see, it's 2026. I started my business officially in 2016. So it's been a decade now
Nice.
of me doing this as my paid job. But it was 2015 or 2016 that I had a friend who just really encouraged me and was like, man, you've been doing this for all of us for free for years. Like, you could charge people for this. And I still kind of didn't believe it. I was like, I don't know, man, but I took it to heart and really thought about it. And I was like, okay, yeah, like let's do this. And so I knew that I needed to really like dial some things in, get more tools, and things that were very specific for specific jobs, as well as, once I did figure out numbers and measurements of like, oh, this is, because everything before that was feel, which is what matters the most.
Sure.
Is feel and how it sounds. Like, is it in tune? So that is what matters. It's like, I could give someone their instrument back and it's like, well, these are what the numbers say, and they hate playing it. And that's not effective.
Yeah.
So, but once I could get numbers that were at least like a launching point for, I know this is a setup that can work, or this is even just a starting point to where if we veer a little bit one way or a little bit the other way, I know how to get back there. I know where home base is, and to where I can speak to them in numbers. Because still to this day, like when someone new comes, the first combo that I have is like, well, okay, what style do you play? If they're a bass player, do you play with only your fingers? Do you play with a pick? How hard do you play? Guitar players, do you play with a slide? Is it metal? And maybe I'll even watch them play for a minute and just try to assess like, okay, how hard are they digging into this instrument? Because that has such a big part to play in what the setup's going to be like. So it's like, yeah, this setup could be right for you. This setup isn't right for the other guy.
Sure.
And as crazy as that sounds, like that's what it is, man. And so, it's about learning people, but yeah, having that home base numbers wise was so helpful for me. And then it just becomes fun because you start writing down people's like specifics. And, when they bring in a new guitar, if they're stoked on a guitar that I've already worked on, when they bring in a new guitar, I can say, I set this guitar up exactly the same way as the other one, numbers wise. Like there's nothing different except for the guitar itself.
Yeah.
And so this is what the guitar is giving you. Now we're like experiencing the instrument for what it is.
Yeah.
What do you want it to be now? Do you want to go a little lower or do you want to go a little higher? And so that's fun because it also helps guys kind of dial in like, what is it that this instrument is giving me? specifically. And especially for studio guys here in Nashville,
Right.
they've got their rack of instruments, and it really is like song to song or part to part. Like, this instrument's going to give me something different. It might even fight me in a different way, and so it causes me to play different, and that's really cool, man. It gets very like nuanced and specific. And so I love all that stuff. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. I was in Charlotte for a year. To get things started, this is kind of wild, bro. I can't believe I did it, but to get things started and grow business, sometimes you got to give way more than you would normally give once you're established, in the sense of like over serving. And so I did a thing where I offered to pick up and drop off every instrument. So I would come to a guy's workplace, I would come to their house, and I would do all the deliveries, pickups and deliveries. I'd take all the instruments back home, work on them for a few days, and then re-deliver them. And people loved that. But it also, Charlotte was a big, area. And so and I lived on the outskirts in a farmhouse. And so me trying to get in, establish myself, I had to go really above and beyond. And sometimes that's what you have to do, whether it's playing or, on the tech side of things or whatever. You've just got to like offer and do more for free than you would normally hope to do once you're established.
Yeah.
I wouldn't dream of doing that now.
Yeah. Especially with Nashville traffic.
That said, like if there are certain acts where I'm like, this would be very good for me to not miss out. They can't leave the venue, kind of thing. If Chris Stapleton calls, I'm going to drive to Chris. That kind of deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Just as an example. And if I haven't driven to any of you who are listening, or I've had to say no for whatever reason, please don't be offended. But usually my shop is full and I can't get away, and every second does count in the shop, because I've got so many guys that are like, hey man, I've got a session tomorrow. Is there any way you could, I noticed this thing's acting weird. Is there any way you could do it today? So it is very hard for me to leave the shop.
Yeah.
But in those days when I was getting started, I was like, I'm going to drive to you, man. And it really paid off. And I got a lot of work that way. When I moved to Reading, because the town is so small, it's literally like moving to Mayberry. If your friend lives further than 10 minutes away, you're annoyed because everything is within 10 minutes. And so at that point, everyone was driving to me, and I've kept it that way ever since. And I've loved it. I love having people to the house and hosting people here. A lot of times they'll meet my family or my dog or my kids or, whatever. So anyway.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that's kind of what got me into it. And, there were definitely instruments that were nerve-wracking learning experiences, especially within that first year. And sometimes there still are. There's always going to be something new that you've never encountered. But that's where you draw on the wisdom of people who have done it before. And that's how I approached my business. And so as I was getting into it, I'd call people, I'd, go over and watch over their shoulder. I'd thank God for the internet and thank God for books. And, I would just take everything very slowly, meticulously, and learn. Oh, and there's something to be said about reps and doing it over and over again.
Yeah.
And now I can kind of feel what the instrument's going to do. And, there are things that feel second nature now that did not in the beginning. So, yeah, man, I don't know how many guitars I've worked on at this point. It's a lot. I do know that, with selling guitars, I hit my 100th guitar mark. I think it might have been right around when you bought your bass.
Nice.
That December or November, which was 2024.
Yep.
I believe.
Yep, it was
That's when I hit
November's.
my, yeah,
That's
that's when I hit
awesome.
my 100th build, which is also mind blowing. Um, oh, the other cool thing too, man, about that tour that I was first on, the Outcry tour, is because I was working on Bethel's guitars, Mosaic and Elevation, they saw me doing that. They, I think, had backline techs, but neither of them had guitar techs. And so
Oh,
then there were guys on the tour that were paying me to set up their guitars, which was cool, man. And it was
yeah.
just like, again, it's just like these relationships, these connections, you never
Yes.
know what they're going to lead to.
Yeah.
Other audio guys um, on the other teams as well who met me, saw me doing the work. Can I have your number? Get a call from them 2 years later. Hey, man, we're out on tour. I'm with my buddy. He's having issues. Can you help us out?
Right.
Or we're doing rehearsals. Can we ship you the guitar? Whatever, man. And all of that stuff like adds up
Yeah.
to having business. And the music business is so relationally based,
It is.
which I won't name the name of any companies right now, but we all know who
Right.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When you,
Yes.
when you make decisions that can cause relationships to
Right.
feel like they're going to break, or if you are threatening to
Yeah.
people on a business level, musicians don't like that, man.
No,
And
you're
it
exactly right.
automatically singles you out as this dude's a jerk, or
Yeah.
we're not going to work with this guy.
Yep.
Because it is mostly by word of mouth.
Right.
I've never had a business card. I've never handed them out. I don't advertise.
Right.
My advertisement is I do a good job for you. You tell your buddy about it.
Right.
And that is better than any kind of advertisement I could do.
Exactly.
And in the musician world, people trust the word of their friends.
Yeah.
And that's the way it works, man. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's kind of how it, and it might not even just be a musician. Again, it might be an audio guy, it might be a lighting guy, it might be a tour manager. There are so many different layers
Yeah.
of relationships, and again, just like being good to people, treating people well, with respect, with kindness, and just doing a good job.
Yeah.
The best job you can. It goes a long way, dude.
It does. I know just in my own, with myself, I've kind of experienced that same exact thing just with people that I've met, people that I've become friends with. It's interesting how all that, connects, and people hit somebody up. Hey, how did you do this? Or where did you take this? Oh man, I've got this guy, and so on. It really does that circle,
Yep.
But I'm glad that you brought that tour back up, because one of the questions I wanted to ask was, so that was kind of like your first, like, kind of foot into the Bethel world. When did it happen that you finally started playing like on some of the records?
So worship team, man, I just served on the worship team for a long time. A couple years. And I feel like the way that they typically do it is they won't just take someone straight from serving to putting on them on the album. Maybe there are some outliers like that, but then they'll kind of like, let's see if we can build some trust with this person. The next step would be like itinerant trips, where it's like there's a certain worship leader or worship leaders that are going to go and play or lead worship at an event or a church or whatever. And that's like the next level of trust, to where, let's see how you do traveling, because man, nobody wants to travel with people that they don't enjoy.
Yeah.
Through airports and buses and things like that. And so that's a great, like, safe testing ground. And I would say that's the same for across the board. I feel like that's usually how it works. Like, come play on this festival with me or this gig with me. It's not a make it or break it thing. If this person doesn't work out, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, they're not coming on tour, you know? But it's a great way to kind of test the waters and see how someone does outside of the safe, normal church environment.
Right.
And so I did some of those. But also I had already been traveling with Bethel Music in an audio capacity. And so people knew how I was. And I think they enjoyed me because they kept asking me to come. So I was part of the team in that sense. So I was very unique in that way. I already had a foot in the door.
Right.
I had the relationships with all the other musicians, the worship leaders, and the audio team and the tour managers and all that, because I'd been on the road. I'd been on all the flights, all the buses, all the stuff. And so I was unique in that way. The cool thing, I think the first song I played on, I didn't know I was playing on. And I'm pretty sure it was Brandon Lake, which that's a big one to start with.
Yeah, no kidding.
He wasn't as big as he is now back then.
Exactly.
But he was amazing. He always was amazing from day one. But it was Too Good to Not Believe was the song.
Nice.
It was David Hislop and I, and it was just a Sunday morning, man. And we were just kind of coming back to normal church out of COVID. So even the services were still a little weird and small. And I can't remember how many people they were still letting in. And, it was just, that was a weird time, 2021.
Yep.
Things weren't back to normal yet, but just like classic Bethel fashion, man. I mean, one of the things that they do so well is live stream and recording. They're known for their live stream.
Yeah.
That's one of the things they're known for. And they record every set, and it's top quality recording. And so you're playing, you're doing sound check, and then you're doing that first 8 a.m. service. It's not on camera or whatever, but they're recording, man, and they've got it all. And it's with legit gear, great amps, all the stuff. And that's how it happened. And so the funny thing about that one is it was attached to an album called Homecoming, which was actually I teched for that whole album. And that was a week of recording at another location in Reading, where we brought in all the cameras and we did all the stuff. But they attached this song to that album for whatever reason. And so we were at the album release, and they're reading off the names, and they're guitars, David Hislop, Jonathan Lee, David Puleo. And I was like, what? I was this must be a mistake. And there was also another drummer who was playing that Sunday, and he wasn't on the main album as well. And he and I both kind of looked at each other this is a mistake. But yeah, sure enough, that's what it was. And it slowly kind of morphed into me doing more. I was never one of the main guys, main guys in the sense of there's typically always two guitarists that are the guys, and then there are a few more. And after David Hislop, Kenyon Reed moved into that spot. And so it's been Kenyon and Jonathan Lee. But Bethel has done a thing where they're artistically, whatever, let's change it up and let's do different things. And so that's kind of where I fit in to some of that stuff. And, it's been fun, man. And a lot of traveling with BM, playing guitar, and a few different tours. And it's been awesome, man. And they've treated me so well. And the experience, the learning, tone, and digging into all that, and the trust, it's been incredible. So invaluable for sure. And then just playing at church,
Yeah.
It's when you play at church and you're playing a live stream service, it's a legit experience, and you want to do your best because they typically don't repair musical mistakes.
Right.
So, it's kind of there for
Yeah.
people to enjoy over and over again. If you make a mistake, man.
Yeah. When that dotted note just goes on forever.
Yep. Yeah. So, yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say one of the things. So what year did you say it was that you first kind of at Bethel started like serving, not necessarily just guitar, but even when you were kind of doing the tech stuff? What year was
2018 is when I jumped in.
Okay.
Guitar teching.
I remember you and I having a little bit of a conversation about this, but one of the things that I wanted to talk about a little bit was the Bethel bass kind of like thing, obviously since this is a worship bass coffee thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember you and I having a little bit of a conversation about how you kind of got to see a little bit of that like sound changing,
Yes. Yep. Now, I didn't get to see it happen firsthand.
Right.
I wasn't in Reading yet, because that goes back to when I mentioned Jesus Culture moved to Sacramento. I would say it was within that year or two that the sound of Bethel music really changed. Because previous to that, it was typically the Jesus Culture band was also the Bethel band.
Right.
It was the same guys primarily, maybe a few people like being, swapped in and out. But I remember one of my buddies back in Charlotte, we were listening to You Make Me Brave. And so that's the first time I heard it, was the You Make Me Brave album. And I noticed that the guitars were very clean on a lot of the songs. I was like, okay, that's very different from like the Jeffrey Cundy thing. But then how is this still sounding so edgy and drivey sounding with the guitars being so clean? Because that intro to You Make Me Brave, it is just clean guitar doing that little riff.
Right.
And my buddy was like, dude, you need to listen to this bass tone. It's pretty insane. And so he soloed it, I think off of like multi-tracks or something. And it was just the wildest, most overdriven tone, man. And I was just like, wow, like that is such a big departure from the active 5-string, bass sound that was maybe predominant for a while in worship.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there were other bands doing the 4-string passive thing for a while, but it was still like such a big part of worship music at that time. And so hearing that change, man, was huge. And when I moved out there and came from Charlotte, I had been playing for years. And like I said, playing with Kim Walker as well, and had my tone dialed and was very happy with it. And was like, this really works, And I remember the first year of being at Bethel and like getting in the in-ears, playing with the rest of the band and realizing like, oh, I need to change some things, like tone-wise, to fit just what's happening and to even like be heard in the mix, because it's different. The mix is different. And it's able to be different because of the way that they're approaching the instruments differently. So I don't know who had the conversation. My guess is that it had to do with Chris Greeley and Bobby Strand, who were producing a lot of those albums back then, and that they were instrumental in changing that, because the sound also changed too, the mix of the albums. If you listen to We Will Not Be Shaken, that album, the sound of it was just so different. The compression and the way the drums sounded. I remember the piano sticking out to me like, man, this has such a different tone to it.
Right.
And so that's really like when I remember like those few albums within, the span of each other, like Bethel music has changed compared to if you go back to Be Lifted High, that album,
Okay.
which I loved that album. That sounds completely different than We Will Not Be Shaken and You Make Me Brave. Completely different. So I actually think the crossover album, if you go back and listen to it, is For the Sake of the World. That's where I hear the two sounds kind of like coming together.
Right.
It hadn't gone all the way to the new thing yet, but it was like things are starting to change. And I think at that point, Chris Greeley was like running front of house. I don't know that he was producing yet. But anyway, the bass tone changed dramatically. And that's when I realized because the bass is so overdriven and it's almost acting like a rhythm guitar,
Right.
it frees up the guitars to do less like basic rhythm guitar and to do more of these cleanish parts. And the mix still sounds big and full. But they're able to do more of these intricate parts. And, between the two guitars, even like doing these very like specific guitarmonies and, chords that are like interwoven with each other. That it's just before the approach, I think, and I could be wrong on this, and I'm happy for anyone to correct me if I'm wrong, but it felt like before the approach was typically like, all right, are you playing rhythm or are you playing lead? If there's two guitars, who's playing rhythm, who's playing lead on this song?
Right.
How are we going to work that out? Because someone always needs to play rhythm or it's going to sound empty, whether it's big open chords or power chords or whatever. Someone needs to do that. And then the other guitar is going to play the melody lines or the parts or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it was. And that's my memory of it, at least.
Yeah.
And then that kind of changed, So obviously rhythm guitar is still a huge part, but in the Bethel world, it became more like we can do both. We can have a song that is more parts driven, or maybe like just the bridge will have this huge like fuzzy rhythm guitar with another guitar playing lead. And then the choruses will have both guitars doing these intricate picking, cleanish parts. And so it was like a whole new world. And I feel like the bass is what allowed that to happen, but I could be wrong about that.
Well, I just found it interesting because kind of in my timeline of like, really like diving into the Bethel world and listening to the bass, I remember like how you could not find a Bethel pedal board that did not have the tone hammer
of course.
on the
or the
board,
micro synth.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
those
just,
two.
Yeah. And just that core tone was that tone hammer and what that sound brought.
Yep.
It's just really interesting to me too, hearing that, because that's one of the things that I've tried to talk about here is not preaching it, but just kind of like giving advice on really like, if you have your in-ear mix, turn up the guitars and really listen to what the guitars are doing and think about then how you can, position yourself in that mix.
Sure.
And because in the past, you would always be, oh, let me just lock in with the kick drum, which obviously is important. But now I feel like because of the way that it's evolved, it's almost more important for you to really listen to those guitar parts so that you're like creating that space, with them. So
that's cool, man. Well, and it, as we've seen and heard with the micro synth, there have been so many Bethel bridge sections where that comes in and you're like, or it's like the last chorus after the bridge and you're just like, oh wow, like everything expanded to this huge level.
Yeah.
That we didn't know we still had left, but the micro synth brought it,
Right.
man. And it makes everything else sound way more intense and
Yeah.
energetic. So yeah, it's a cool thing, man. It really, it, it really opened my eyes to a lot of things. What's been fun for me moving back to Nashville and now playing with Josh on a lot of his stuff. And we just finished up an album, which I'm
Right.
stoked about, is, because he's a Bethel artist as well. But then he's also on the radio, and he kind of has this amalgamation of all those sounds. And so it's fun being in the studio. Adam played bass, and there are certain songs where it's like just more straight ahead rock and roll. And then there are some songs where it's like, I think there was one maybe where he pulled out the micro synth and it was like, all right, let's do this.
Nice.
And so it's fun to now be in a place musically where I'm getting to take what I learned from Bethel. I'm getting to take what I was doing before I went to Bethel and kind of like bring it all together.
Nice.
With this artist. So yeah, man, that's been really enjoyable. And it's just really more like song dependent. And we still do, some of his older albums, like we'll still play You Deserve It All or My King Forever. Those are Bethel produced songs. And so they have that sound. And so when we do those songs, we go for that sound.
Right.
And that's really cool.
Yeah.
But then there are other songs where it's like Stand in Your Love and I'm playing slide guitar, the whole song. And that's a completely different sound than like the standard Bethel thing. It's a little bit more Southern rock. And so all of it's fun, man. And I think now it's just, there's so much great worship music coming. It's like, I think it's just great to put all those things in your bag and have them. Instead of just locking into, this is my one style, this is only what I will do. Because at any given Sunday, you're going to play songs from
Elevation
4 to 5 different streams, worship streams, and they're all going to have their different way of doing it. Yeah, Elevation. I mean, the guitars and the bass, it's a completely different.
Well, it's funny because, a lot of people will make a big deal about, oh, well, your pet, at least I've seen this. Oh, well, your pedal board just looks like the what's most popular right now.
Right.
But I always say, if you love it, then play it. It doesn't matter if it's the most popular or what. If that's the sound that in your ears and in your head you've been chasing, then that's what, then do it. But one of the things I was like, the Bethel guys all had this basically the same boards, does that mean that they're just chasing
as well as guitars?
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, my thing is, it's like, hey, they're playing it because they all really like that tone. And the same thing goes for the Elevation guys. If on bass, if you look at all their pedal boards, pretty much every single one of them has a Noble on their board. And so it's a completely different sound that they're going for. It is. So
absolutely. Yep. And I think out at Bethel, because the sound is so specific, I almost look at it like, if we did an Elevation song on Sunday morning, we would make it sound like Bethel doing an Elevation song. Does that make sense? And so at Bethel, to me, I just kind of realized at a certain point, like, don't fight it, just give into it. And I say that to say, like, when I first moved there, I'm like, not in a prideful way, but just like, I've been doing this a long time. I know what gear works for me. I know what I can use, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work in this situation. And I just, those first couple years, I finally was just like, okay, I'm going to get a Veritas guitar. I'm not going to fight it. I'm going to get one. I owned a couple different Veritas's. I'm going to get, make sure I have the Timeline, the Big Sky, the Kilt pedal. There are just certain pedals, and same with bass. And
Yep.
it is a thing of like, especially with bass, like if you don't have a tone hammer on there, when you're first a new guy and you're dialing in your sound, they're going to look around and be like, all right, like we need to get this dude a tone hammer. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like it's just, there's, I don't know of another way to achieve some of those sounds.
Sure.
And so
yeah.
it was just, or it's like until you like really mature to where you're like, man, I can get this sound with any piece of gear.
Right.
Which I feel like that's a pretty high level. It's like, dude, don't fight it. Like just get what we know works and then like work your way into fitting the sound, building trust, and then get more experimental. And that's kind of what I did. I stuck with the things that were tried and true for a long time. And then the last few years that I was there, I started trying some other things. And now I'm kind of just, it's like I know what works. I know it's going to sound good and I can kind of play around with that and it makes it way more fun, And so now it's like, yeah, I can achieve the Bethel sound, but I can also achieve, like a classic country kind of sound as well if I need to, or a CCM like drier sound or whatever.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because like the pedal board, I have 2 pedal boards and one pedal board that is my main like Sunday morning board, but I also have a guy that I occasionally play for that's a Americana. Well, I wouldn't use that board for the Americana stuff. I'm using a P bass with flats and I have a Noble and compressor and tuner, and that's all it is. And it's just a clean tone with the flats and it's perfect, So it is obviously very situational, but I do feel like at least for CCM in general, there is kind of a science behind the why of the drive and how it helps the bass to cut through and all of that stuff. So I think it's like, it's very much like you said, the stuff, it depends on the stuff you're playing. I think that really directs what your tone and sound should be for sure.
And because I need to be more versatile now in drives world, I've picked overdrives that I feel like just kind of take the sound of my guitar and maybe can tilt it in a certain direction, but it still feels and sounds like my guitar and my amp. And these drives will work with any guitar and any amp. And so that's kind of where I've landed now, which is very much just like, if you look at any Nashville studio session guys board, they've got 4 or 5 of the same overdrives. And the reason being is because they work with all your different instruments, where there will be certain overdrives that can be really cool and do like something very specific. It's a very like niche sound. And when you turn that on, it alters things to sound a very specific way. And that can be, again, really cool. But it's like, I'm looking for stuff that I can use multiple guitars with, multiple amps, and for multiple like styles of how we're approaching this song, as opposed to just 1 or 2. Where at Bethel, it's like, I'm going to have my kill, I'm going to have a boost for that. And then I'm going to have a low gain overdrive of some sort. And that's like my drive section. That will work for all the Bethel stuff,
Yeah. Well, speaking of tone, I wanted to grab this real quick and, it's still this.
Let's go, dude.
Looks so good still. I just wanted to say, like, I cannot tell you how many jazz basses I have bought and sold over the years. And I was a P bass guy through and through. That was pretty much all I played. And now since 2024 and buying this has been my number 1 bass, that I've been playing. And just to talk about it real quick and for people, it's a ash body, rosewood neck, and obviously the Lawler pickups, and then the the nice sanding of the back of the neck, which helps a lot. But I love the paint finish, just the feel of it, everything. It's just great. And then, of course, I'm one of the people that still has the little Redding sticker on it.
Oh, yeah, dude.
I get the OG sticker.
It's a certain era.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Which is awesome. But can you talk a little bit about because we're going to kind of start making our way towards the end
Land
here.
The plane.
Yeah.
Dude,
so I don't.
Here's the problem is I could talk about this stuff forever.
Oh, well, and it's more for you. I want to be mindful of your own personal time. So I'm good.
You're fine.
But
you're fine,
talk a little bit about how you got into building guitars and basses.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking about the golden age and how there's so much stuff available now, that when it's always other people, man, it's never my idea. It's always other people who are pushing me to do things that I at first don't want to do.
Right.
When people started saying, hey, you need to do this, because basically what I was doing is I was aging existing instruments, typically Fender, if guys brought me their basses or whatever, guitars. But then I was also building instruments just for me. It was just the kind of thing where it's like over the years, I'm like, okay, let's parts caster. Let's put this body that I really like with this neck. I think the combination of that's going to be really good. This is a lightweight body. I like the feel of this neck, which to me, the neck is everything. Like, if the neck doesn't feel good, I'm not going to want to play the guitar. That's the bottom line. Like, so that's where it starts. And then if the guitar is too heavy, I'm probably not going to want to play that either.
Yes.
And so I was just kind of building these things for myself. And two of my buddies, one bought a Strat that was mine, my personal Strat that I'd had for years. And then one bought a Telly that was also mine, personal. They're just like, dude, sell it to me. This is sick. Sell it to me. And you should start doing this. And my wife, Jessie, really was the one to push me and say, no, you need to do this. Like, you need to find the space in your already busy schedule and you need to do this. Because for me, that really was like the creative outlet. Of course, like working on people's instruments, there's the joy of just taking care of people and serving them and like them being stoked on this instrument that maybe they just bought or maybe they've had for years and it hasn't played well. And they're like, dude, it's like I'm re-experiencing this instrument. This is awesome. And I love that.
Yeah.
It's so rewarding, or repairing stuff like this has a huge crack in it, and I just glued it up yesterday and it's going to sit for a couple days. But then the building of instruments, for me is the creative side, that I could just kind of put my own aesthetic on it. I've always liked the aged thing. And I've had multiple people ask me, can you just build it new? And all these instruments like yours, before I aged it, it was brand new looking, all the hardware, the paint job, we paint it, just like Fender did in the old days, nitrocellulose paint, and it comes out shiny and perfect day one. And then I beat them up, but I just have no desire to build new guitars.
Right.
I also knew that other people were aging guitars and doing similar things to what I'm doing. And there are so many other good companies out there. For me, it wasn't like a competitive thing. It wasn't a thing of, I can do this better. It really just was like a creative outlet, for one, to where it's like, this is something I can kind of do whatever I want with, or at least, within the parameters of someone picks the color and the thing, but then I can add all my little touches and little bits of aging that I've seen on real vintage guitars that I've worked on over the years. What does that look like? And then adding my like flavor to it. But it also came out of really wanting I had modded so many guitars for so many people where I'd have guys bring me a brand new Fender instrument, and they'd already paid, $1,900 to $2,000 for it. And they're like, I want all the upgrades. I want Lawler pickups on this bass. I want a bone nut. I want new wiring. I want the frets done, because a lot of those new instruments, I'll get them in and they do need a fret level, unfortunately, from some of the bigger companies. And, or they do need a bone nut. Some of the brand, or not brands, but some of the lines do come with bone nuts, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But there'll be, it's like, it's so close. It's just not
right
at the level that you would hope it would be. And then to get it to that level, you've got to leap another couple grand.
Right.
To really get that kind of attention from like a custom shop level type of instrument, whether it be from any of the brands. And I'm not just throwing one under the bus. I'm not throwing any under the bus.
Yeah.
When you're making that many instruments, quality control is very difficult to pull off.
That's where you've got to, custom shops are able to have that ability because there's a smaller batch being made. There's less hands touching that. And so which is essentially like with you, it's almost like a custom shop because there's just one guy touching the hands. Although, except for the painting, because I heard that your wife does. She
does the painting.
The
only period of instruments that she didn't do the painting was when she was pregnant, for good reason.
Oh yeah,
because the nitrocellulose is very poisonous. It's not good for you to breathe in.
Right.
Which I think was part of why, in California specifically, they had stopped using that paint for a long time. And the other reason they stopped using it as well was because it aged very easily and chipped very easily, which we see on these instruments. You could look at it the wrong way and get like a little ding or a chip, where the polyurethane paint, when they switched over to that, it has a plastic base in it. And it's very hard. And it's very difficult to age, which is why when people are like, hey, can you age my polyurethane instrument? I just say no. It's so time consuming to even break through that coat of paint, man. It's not cost effective for me. So,
well, and one of the things about what you had said about, the aging thing and the nitro, that I think a lot of people are always like obviously drawn to vintage instruments. And one of the reason for that is that paint has kind of that coating of paint has kind of faded some. And there is a certain sound that you're getting when those woods are able to breathe a little bit. And that's what I think happens with the nitro and the aging is some of that wood is actually breathing a little bit more, and you're getting a different sound. So that's one of the reasons why
we believe.
Yeah. Well, at least to my ears, when I've played a couple of vintage instruments, and you can just hear a little bit of like a woody tone, extra tone that's there. And so,
and a lot of that, the nitro burns off for it. It's like burning off for another 6 months,
Right.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh no, you're good. And I wanted you to continue on talking about that whole process of, getting started with that anyway.
I think it's a smell thing. It's a feel thing with the nitro.
Yes.
It's softer. Like if you put your fingernails into it, it's just softer. There is a smell to it. And to me, like scientifically, it makes sense that a thicker, harder paint like polyurethane is going to like mask the sound of the wood more. It just makes sense to me, whether that's actually happening or not. It makes sense to me. And so I was like, let's just skip the guessing and let's just go straight to nitro. Also, like you were saying, I love the way it ages. There's a faded, muted look to it. Like your Sunburst is a great example of that, man.
Yeah.
It has this muted, faded look to it, man.
I'll grab
that's just so
quick.
cool. You know, where we've all seen so many brand new Sunbursts, but yeah, the colors in that.
Yeah.
Especially in the dark parts, because there's a Sunburst has a Sunburst brown and a Sunburst black, and they're both a little translucent.
Yeah.
And you can see it in that. It just has like this little bit of a faded look to it, almost chocolatey.
Yeah.
Would be the word. That's just really cool.
I know.
Yeah. So yeah.
But you were talking about how people were bringing their guitars. Yeah. And so you were like, you know what? I know I'm not going to finish your sentence here, but I kind of figured from our other conversations, you were just like, you know what? I can do it cheaper if I just start from scratch.
Because it felt like, for whatever reason, the gap monetarily between a basic American-made instrument from any American company and then the custom shop version of that was massive. It was like this massive gap.
Double.
You're going from somewhere between $1,200 and $2,000 for like a standard American instrument nowadays, to leaping to $4,000 and up.
Yeah.
And there's nothing in between. It's like a $2,000 to $2,500 leap at least.
Yeah.
You know, and then there are levels above that if you want it master built.
Right.
Or you want, you know, Murphy aged, or, you know, I mean, there's all these different, which they're all amazing. And I love those instruments. But I was like, man, is there any way that I can do something similar to that, but not break people's bank?
Right. Yeah.
And, you know, so it was like, can I get an American-made instrument that has all the things done, all the frets are perfectly dialed. It comes with a bone nut right from the start. It comes with good CTS pots, cloth-covered wiring, good pickups. So we're not upgrading any of that stuff. The tuners, the Godot tuners on the basses, I absolutely love, and the guitars.
Yeah.
The 15-to-1 ratio is just awesome. And then on top of that, I source and pick out the wood. And so then I'm choosing the weight of the body, which also to me has a big quality control factor over what we're getting, you know, especially bass players, man, like the instrument's already heavy.
Yeah.
You don't want to make it any heavier.
Right. Yeah.
And guitars as well, man, you know, to me, an instrument, I feel like what I hear happening acoustically, and to me, that's where it starts before you ever plug it in. I hear that instrument resonate better 9 times out of 10 when the body is lighter weight, because in my mind, similar to the paint situation, a lighter weight piece of wood is not going to absorb the strings as much. It's going to respond to the strings more. And so that's what I'm trying to get the instrument to do, is to respond to those notes, the string and the neck, you know, what's happening there. And then for that instrument to that body to come as alive as it possibly can before it ever gets plugged in. And that's the goal. And so I was like, can I accomplish all of that? And all of my instruments back when I first started, they started at $2,500. Can I accomplish that for $2,500, which is still as cheap or cheaper than someone buying an American made and then me doing all the upgrades. And then they still might not even have a piece of wood in their body that they're stoked about.
Sure.
You know, it's like, it still might be a heavy tank of a body, you know? And so it's like, we could do all those upgrades, but then is the body still responding the way you want? So that was my goal. And I wasn't trying to compete with anyone or trying to build this massive thing. It's also within the parameters that I want. It's almost a very selfish thing. It's like I'm kind of doing this for myself, in the sense of there is the service part of it, but it's like I don't want it to ever become huge. I want it to be my hands and Jesse's hands on it, maybe one other employee at some point if I grow to the point. But quality control for me with building these is so big. If it has my name on it, I want another, if you're playing one of my instruments at a gig and you're showing it to your buddy and he picks it up and he fills the neck and there's a bunch of sharp frets on there, that's like my nightmare, man. And so I want the other dude to be like, okay, maybe this isn't aesthetically what I would pick, or maybe I would pick a different neck profile or whatever, but this feels awesome. Like, that's what I want, anyone to say. If they open up the control cavity and look at the wiring 10 years from now, I want to be proud of that. If another guitar tech is working on the instrument, I want him to be able to say, man, this thing sets up great. The frets were great. The dialability of this instrument is very easy to dial in and to set up. And so that's like my goals. The aged thing is just a personal thing. And I've turned away a lot of guys who were like, I want a brand new instrument from you. And I'm just like, sorry, I don't do that. And I won't. And I'll lose the sale many times over because it's just not what I have a desire to do. But also I'm in a position that I'm grateful for, to where these instruments for me are more of my labor of love and my passion project, as opposed to I'm just trying to pump out as many as I can. And that's not to say that the guys who are doing that are doing the wrong thing. It's just not, for me on the building side of things, that's not what I want to do. And if it ever has to become that, I'll probably stop. I just really want it to be within these parameters, you know? And so I'll offer to guys like, hey, if you don't want it all dinged up, it can be, it's like it was
closet
in your in your grandfather's closet, in a case for years. There's only going to be certain things that are aged that you see on those instruments. And I'll do that. But it's like he barely played it out. It's very well kept, but it's still going to have a little something, a little mojo to it. I'm going to do that, or I'm going to go all the way to, the Jaco Pastorius, like all the paint's almost gone. It's crazy age. Usually that's my favorite is I land somewhere in the middle. I'd say like your Sunburst, I'd say both of yours. That's like where my preferred spot is. But to all the guys who I've built very heavily aged guitars, I'm not bummed to build them. I want to make that clear. I just really like, I'd say 9 times out of 10, what I see on real vintage instruments is similar to what we did on yours. Which is there's going to be a little bit of arm wear. There's always going to be dings, because if a guy's playing at a club or a gig, he pulls it out of his case, he bumps the stand by accident, the nitro is going to chip. It just is, man. And, if you are playing with a pick, you're going to hit certain spots on the guitar. The belt buckle, if you wear a belt, it is going to, that is all real stuff, man. Adam Kaiser, his bass, I didn't do any belt buckle wear to begin with. And now he has naturally done all belt buckle wear on the back, and it looks so cool. I'm like, it's just, it just looks awesome, man. So for me, it's fun seeing these instruments that I aged a little bit come back to me a year or two later with real, in the wild aging, and to see what that looks like as well. Because it's, there's just so much cool stuff that happens naturally.
Yeah, I love it too, because for me, with a perfectly, painted and every detail perfect bass, I always, especially when I first get it, I just feel like I'm walking around with it, hugging it, afraid that I'm gonna, but like with this, even if I'm rehearsing and I'm at my desk and I turn around weird and bing, I don't even look at it,
Yep.
I'm not even worried because I'm like, hey, that just adds more character.
Yes. Yep. And a bolt-on style neck, man, you can drop them, you can throw them. It's very hard to really fundamentally break them. Where I had a buddy who just texted me yesterday. He was playing a Les Paul. Anytime you have that angled headstock, Les Paul Gretsch, my main instrument is a 335, even though I build, a lot of bolt-on style necks. He dropped it from 2 feet. He had just dialed in his amp. I think he was like standing up, had it on the strap. The strap came loose. It only fell like 2 feet, but it broke the headstock. And the headstock was like that. So it's going to need to be glued and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But these bolt-on style necks, man, like you can get away with murder.
Yeah.
They're great for traveling. They're great. And they're just so fun to see beat up,
One of my favorite things about your builds are the back of the neck, instead of it just having that sticky, lacquer finish on there where like when your hands get a little sweaty or whatever, you kind of feel like your hand just won't slide, having that like unfinished or sanded down neck, and it's just so smooth. It just feels so good. I love that.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that's a personal thing for me. Because I have seen some guys who say they don't like that specifically. It's more rare because most guys ask for that. Like the back of the neck's too sticky, especially if you're doing outdoor gigs. Right. And you've got a shiny, perfectly glossy, it gets sticky, man. And, between the sweat and the humidity, you can really get caught up on the neck, where I feel like the finish being removed or being a satin finish really can help with that. So that's always been a personal thing for me. Also the rolled edges to where there's no hard edges on the neck. For me, that's such a big thing. It just feels lived in. And I love that feel. And that's like what I'm always going for with those builds. And that was a big part of why I wanted to do it too. Just the feel part of it.
That's awesome. I love it. I'm thankful. Like I said, I love both of mine. The jazz is still my number one, that's that awesome. I go to for every Sunday. But to everybody out there, if you're thinking about doing it, I can highly recommend. So real quick, we'll get into I have a little rapid fire section that I like to do. Now, that doesn't mean when I say rapid fire that you have to, very quickly.
Answer quickly.
Sometimes we go on little tangents of the rapid fire, but I just thought this is kind of a fun way to end it. So, even though you are, obviously primarily guitarist, P bass or jazz bass?
Oh man. I think it's a longer story, but I'll try to make it as brief as I can. If you're playing a Bethel J bass, like always, J bass, bridge pickup rolled down, neck pickup only. That is that sound. Being back here in Nashville, and hearing what guys can do with P basses. And, man, you get the right pickups in there because the thing I really love about the Lawler pickups, which is good to talk about anyway, is that I feel like the vintage J bass and P bass pickups are so killer. And there's nothing like a vintage instrument, nothing like the pickups. Sometimes I feel like as you begin to overdrive them and go through overdriven pedals, they can get mushy. And lose clarity. Clean, they're awesome for like your classic, like the tones that we've all heard over the years, like they're perfect. But as you begin to go into more of that modern rock thing and add, start stacking micro synths and overdrives and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, especially on the E and the A strings, you can lose definition.
Right.
And that's something that I love about the Lawler pickups is they sound great clean. Same with the Fralins as well.
Yeah.
They sound great clean, but overdriven, they also retain their clarity and their definition.
Yeah.
Really well. They don't get mushy. And that's something that I love about it. And so back to the P bass question. P basses to me have a lot of low mid content. They're never too bright, which is why I think a lot of people lean towards them to begin with. Of course, you can make a J bass work,
Right.
like we were talking about, but sometimes to me, the P basses in certain situations are too dark. And so that's where I think when I've heard the Lawler pickups in the P basses, I'm like, dude, like there's something about the P bass to me that's like a telly. It's like the most pure, basic form of the bolt-on neck instrument that Leo Fender designed, where it's like one pickup, or in the P bass, the split pickup thing together. Right. And it's just no frills.
I know, just
but it
volume
gets the
and
job
tone,
done. Gets the job done, and you can still get such a wide range of sounds out of that if you know how to use your tone controls and your volume and pedals and all that. And so I think P bass, man. I think I've come back around to. I
love it.
I love the P bass, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. It honestly, my absolute favorite music to listen to is that Motown era is, like in my record collection, that's what I have the most of is that stuff. And I just love to listen to that R&B Motown stuff. And so in my mind, that is like my favorite, sound to go to. And that's what they were doing, P bass with flats, kind of thing.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, okay. In the guitar world, are you a single coil or humbucker fan?
Oh, it's impossible, dude. That's impossible to answer. I will say if I'm on a desert island, how about that?
Yeah.
If I'm on a desert island and I can have one, I think it's going to be a PAF, man. The thing about humbuckers is they're just kind of like what we were saying with the P bass is it's hard to get a bad sound. Like single coils, I think you have to do more work, which there's a part of that I love, like the David Gilmour thing. He gets this sustaining lead tone from a Strat. And I love that. Like any Jeff Beck, any of the guys who can get this warm, fat, sustaining tone with a single coil, I'm like, dude, you've done your work. Eric Johnson, and you're a hero. Jimi Hendrix, so it's like in that situation, you're maybe more versatile with a single coil. I don't know, but a PAF, I've just grown to love it, and it is it's like if I'm going to grab one first, or if I just need to get the job done. That's it. And on Josh's new album, I mean, I played my 335 a lot.
Nice.
And I loved it. I played a bunch of other things, but I played the 335 a lot. The PAFs just do the thing, man. And here's what I will say about a great humbucker pickup. And I've got Fralins in mind right now, is if the wiring is correct in the instrument, all that, a Les Paul, a 335 can also sound very bright. The vintage ones are much clearer and more open and brighter than a lot of people think. It's not just that heavy rock, dark tone. And actually on my 335, I roll down the tone on the bridge pickup a lot of times, like a little bit, but I'll roll it off a little bit. It can be a little too spiky, which is awesome. That's it, And so I feel like with that instrument, man, I can get so much. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Telly or Strat?
Dude, these are hard questions, bro. I was a Strat guy forever.
You were just naming off all those.
Yeah, Strats are so much more versatile to me, and you can kind of fake a Telly tone with the right pickups. It's harder to fake a Strat tone with a Telly.
Mm.
I had to do it the other day with use my EQ and scooped the mids in the Telly pickup, and it was kind of that kind of thing. But man, I think a Strat. I'm gonna say a Strat.
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix.
Heck
I'd say some of my favorite players that I was drawn to when I was 13 and 14, they were playing Strats, and that instrument, I think, Leo, it was this is the ultimate version of what he was trying to do. And he did it so quickly.
Yeah.
Because the broadcasters were 50, 1950,
right,
51. And then it became the Telecaster by 52, I guess. And then the first Strat came in 54. Which is crazy. And so it's that body contour, how comfortable it is, the trem. It's incredible that he did that.
Didn't the Edge, his early years, he was playing a Strat? I think.
So
I can't remember.
Yes, and he still does. The Strat is his main.
Yeah.
That's his main one. But I think early years, I think he was playing an Explorer.
Oh, okay.
Through his AC30. And then the 70s Strat came along. I could be wrong on this though, dude. You might be right. We'll have to go back and look at some videos.
I was trying to think
some of the videos of them playing Boy. I think some of those early when they were on the TV shows in the 70s, their first debut.
Right.
I don't know why I feel like he was playing an Explorer, but
I was just trying to think of Joshua Tree, that era,
Oh, that was the Strat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, With or Without You.
Yeah.
Streets Have No Name. Mm-hmm. Absolutely the Strat.
Which that's my favorite album of theirs of all time. Yeah. It's just incredible. Let's see. Desert Island Pedal.
I would pick a delay, and it would probably be a Deluxe Memory Man, a vintage one. Again, I'm thinking Desert Island. It's if I'm on an island with one guitar and one amp and one pedal, the amp probably can give me overdrive.
Right.
So then I'm set there, and it's going to be good overdrive. And then, just adding that delay pedal, and the Memory Man has that modulation, so I can kind of get chorusy sounds with my humbucker guitar. Yeah.
Nice.
That's it.
Favorite guitar player?
Oh, dude, these are the hardest. Wow.
I guess you can have a 1A and a 1B,
That's so tough, man.
I know.
I mean, the ones that I go back to, I guess that's a helpful way to look at it. It's funny because both of these guys were in the It Might Get Loud documentary, but Jimmy Page, for the class, it's he's classic rock, but then a little heavier.
Right.
And he's got such a wide range of sounds and tones, and the way he played, the energy that he played with, and then probably the Edge. For the Edge is for the sound sculpting. It's of course I love the way he plays. And it's such a big part, but the way that he sculpts sounds, it's when I listen to his tones individually, his drive tone, and maybe it's a Les Paul into his AC30s with the right delay, the right overdrive pedal. It's just this is insane, dude.
Yeah.
It's perfect. If you can have perfect tone, it's pretty much there, man. It's you hear the clean tones, the overdriven tones, the fuzzy tones. It's all there.
Yeah.
I
saw with him
so good.
When on tour, saw a little back behind the scenes thing, and he would have for his stereo signal would be 2 AC30s. And then as a backup, he had 2 Fender, I guess it was 2 Fender Twins, I guess. Or no, Fender Deluxe or what, I can't remember, but that was his back line for amps, which was pretty awesome. But for me, like not being a guitarist, the thing I think was incredible about him is like I can remember when that album came out, and at the same time, all the like biggest bands were like your Van Halen, you know, your Led Zeppelins, all those like rock and roll shredders. And it was just so interesting how he was not anywhere on that planet with those people. He was just going in a completely different direction. And that was just like what made it so amazing for what he did and for their sound, for it to go against, even when they, you know, as they went on, you know, the height of the hair band was right during their peak time too. And so for them to just like completely push back against that sound and just do their own thing, that's what made it amazing to me. It's crazy.
It's what they would have called punk. You know, they were being, you know, they were doing the anti thing. And I think back to what we were originally talking about, it's like the sound and the way that he supports the songs, to where it's like he's a part of the band. You know, and he does have his moments where he steps out, but even those, it's like it's so specific what he does. It's never gratuitous. That kind of player I'm personally more drawn to. I know everybody has their thing. I'm personally more drawn to that. And when it comes to the kind of playing that I want to do, that's how I want my approach to be. I want the sounds that I'm creating to fit the vibe of the song perfectly. And I want my parts or melody lines to support the lead vocal and the melody of the choruses or the, you know, whatever. And so that's like the approach that I want to take.
Yeah. Same for me. Adam Clayton is a huge influence on me. And it's amazing when you really listen. If you really like listen to that album, to Joshua Tree, and you listen to what they're doing, and then you think about modern worship now, it's incredible how, I mean, that was setting up that even, you know, people like to talk about the Edge and his sounds and how that, but it's not talked about as much as, you know, the rhythm section and what they did and how that affected. Cause like a perfect song is Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For. If you listen to that bass line and then you listen to the drums are doing a very like tom kind of groove, and he's playing right along with that tom groove. And it's just so cool to hear that.
It's perfect. Yeah.
And he just does the same thing the whole song. And it's just that backbone of the song, and it's setting up the, you know, it's like lifting up the Edge to do what he's going to do. And like, I'm getting chill bumps now.
The movement that the bass is doing, I think, is what allows the Edge to play the way that he's playing as well.
Yeah.
You know, some of those picking parts and things like that, like it's so good, man.
It really is. It's incredible.
It's so good.
Okay. Like towards the end here, it's a favorite coffee of choice.
Oh, wow. As far as brand, I'm not sure. There's a company, Black and White, that is very accessible. They're in North Carolina and they ship. Jake Faber actually turned me on to them. Guitarist Jake Faber.
Yeah.
He brought me a bag one day to the shop. And Jesse and I were both like, whoa, what is this? But within coffee, I'm going to typically like go for like an Ethiopian, like a more fruity
Yeah.
That's where I've landed, man. You know, the coffee of my parents in the 80s and 90s, like the Folgers and the,
right.
you know, the very like Colombian dark, it'll put hair on your chest kind of thing. Like I'm not into that at all. So I like the fruitier stuff. Some of the best coffee I've had was at a place in Zurich, Switzerland. And it was a pour over that they did. And it was just insane, dude. Absolutely insane. And it was called the Geisha. So anyway, the amount of like notes, you know, if we want to get really dorky, as I was sipping that, it was insane. So
I love that. Yeah, my light roasts are my favorite. My go-to typical for like daily, you know, making a latte or whatever at my house is Muletown's light roast. I love it. So what about favorite coffee shop now that you've been here in the Nashville area?
That's a tough one, man. I don't know. I don't know that I want to single out one. Living Waters is great. Up in Nashville. Down here in the Franklin area, I really like the vibe of Hank's.
Yeah.
That's such a good vibe.
Yeah. Have you been to the Awaken House yet?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. It's right here in Spring Hill.
Oh, dude. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. It's right over by the Spring Hill Hospital.
Okay. Nice.
It's on that same road. And it's just this farmhouse, and this family bought it. Do you know Chris Clayton?
The name is very familiar.
Okay. Anyway, he has a studio up in the like loft area of it.
Okay, cool.
And he knows them. They're like Texas transplants. And dude, like to bring your youngest out there, it is perfect. There are kids running around outside because it's just this farmhouse. They have a little taco truck over to the side that has amazing breakfast tacos and regular tacos, and then you can get coffee. It's a vibe for sure.
Do they sell their own beans?
If I'm not mistaken, they get their beans from somebody else local.
Okay.
But they do have beans there as well, so that they sell. But yeah, if you're looking for a good, like, because they got some outdoor like picnic benches, and there are always kids running around. It's cool. So
that's cool, man.
I definitely can recommend that.
I really got dialed in with the beans because our old coffee maker broke maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. And we had a Chemex in the house that I had gotten for like my birthday or something years ago. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to force myself to use this thing. And so there were 4 people in our house drinking coffee at that time. And for 2 years, I made pour overs every morning and every afternoon for 4 people.
That's awesome.
And I really was able to dial in the beans, the kind of beans that I like. And what I'm looking for. Because when you get to that, like just basic root level, a very little machinery, it's like, okay, here it is, you know?
Yeah.
And we got a good kettle and the whole thing, good grinder. And then in the last few years, we got a Mocha Master, and that's just like your basic drip coffee, but it's a really good one.
Yeah.
And so we've got our fellow grinder, our Mocha Master, our fellow kettle. And then if I really want to get fancy, I'll pull out the Chemex and still do that.
Nice.
But yeah, that's the vibe, man.
Fellow released a brand new grinder just recently. And dude, because I had the old one. And dude, the retention was terrible. Like, you know, of like
the sound.
No, the retention,
the retention
of the grounds still inside.
Oh, gotcha.
It was terrible. And so with this one, I think if you're dark roast, typically retention is more, but now I think it's like 0.3 grams of retention.
Wow.
It's
Okay.
it's ridiculous.
I have the V2. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know where that lands, but it's so quiet. That's one thing that I love about it. It's very heavy.
Yeah.
Which helps it stay stable. It's very quiet. This is such like dorky coffee talk.
I love it. Hey,
it is like gear. It's gear talk, man.
Yeah.
But it's so quiet, and I absolutely love it. We got it like a year ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. Burr grinders are where it's at on that.
Yeah.
Also, like a couple years ago, Fellow did they were putting out an espresso machine.
Yes.
And so I ended up being one of the people that got in on the founders.
Whoa.
Like when they first announced it.
Yeah.
So I got it a lot cheaper.
Dude.
And then also they gave like, I think it was like a $300 credit to like buy other stuff. And
awesome.
Because the timing of the release kept kind of getting delayed, but they were trying to get it perfect. And so as a like, hey, thank you for being the founders, they gave like that credit. And so that's what I used to buy the new grinder was awesome. That. So, which was great. But
that's awesome.
The thing that I love about it, and so I'm just going to nerd out for a second, is it actually has, so like, you grind it, you put it in your portafilter, you put it on there, and as it's pulling the shot, after it gets done, it'll tell you, okay, based on your grind, it was too fine, so you need to grind it a little less fine. Or if you grind it too coarse, it'll tell you, because there's like a perfect timing for the shot pull is like 25 to 30 seconds.
Okay.
And so what's amazing is in the couple of, trial and error ones that I did, when I finally got it dialed in, it was amazing. I was like, wow, it really makes a difference doing that 25 to 30 seconds. So it's really neat, because for somebody like me that's not, that hasn't perfected the espresso thing, for it to kind of like give you feedback, it's pretty awesome.
That's so cool, man. I literally a buddy of mine in Reading, we went out there a couple of weeks ago. He had just gotten one within the last few months, and he made me a cup, and it was insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. My favorite feature, though, because it's one of my favorite drinks, is you can get a Americano, and so you you just put your cup there, and you hit the button. It does the espresso, and then there's a little spout that is right there, and it just pours the hot water directly into the cup.
Wow.
And so it gives you your perfect ratio. And I'm just like, this is amazing.
That's awesome, man.
Fellow makes a bunch of great stuff.
Oh,
so,
dude, they're top of their game.
Yeah. Last of the rapid fire was just some music that you're currently listening to right now.
Oh, Ella Langley, of course. That album, I guess if you could have a perfect album, that's kind of it, man.
I'll have to check that out.
It's like every song. I think she just won new female country artist of the year. So good, dude. David Gray, Brian Eno. There are different things that I circle back around to. Of course, Steven Wilson Jr. has been in the background a lot. I've had a Tom Petty resurgence.
Nice.
I just listened to Mike Campbell's book called Heartbreaker.
Oh, nice.
I listened to the audio book version while I was working, which is so convenient. And it's just inspiring, to hear some of that. But yeah, when it comes to music, man, I like a lot of different things.
Awesome.
Kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and last question, just any like advice that you would give to, say, worship musicians, maybe that are just getting into this or that are kind of into it a little bit, just from your experience, what advice would you give to them?
Wow. I mean, there are so many different angles you could take.
True.
I would say continue to, it's like, I know that you've got to learn the worship songs for the weekend. And so learn those. And for a lot of guys who, have a day job, they're not able to just sit down for hours every day and just shred and play and all that. And so for a lot of guys, the first time they pick up their instrument is when they go to learn the set. I find for a lot of people. But I would say, listening wise, keep listening to other genres. Because if all you're ever listening to is just worship music, and then that's all you're ever practicing, it is going to narrow what you're able to deliver. And I think obviously you need to serve the sound, you need to fit the sound. You don't want to be throwing in licks or things that are, or sounds that are completely inappropriate to the genre.
Right. So you're not trying to sound like Steve Vai on a Sunday morning.
just like you would dress to fit the room or the stage appropriately, do the same musically. But a lot of what we listen to is still going to seep in good ways.
Yeah.
And so continuing to listen to a wide variety of music that might inspire you, or it makes it to when you do go to listen to the worship songs for your set, it feels fresh again. It's like, I haven't been kind of listening to songs with 1654 in the background all week long. You know what I mean? Over and over again. But it's like, I'm saving that for this time. And then, I don't know, man, for me, musically, and maybe this is the same for you, I feel like it can be very hard to separate just enjoying listening to worship music because I play it all the time.
Sure.
It's hard for me to sometimes just sit back. And so it's like, if there is worship music out there that's maybe very different musically than what you normally would play, that you could connect to worship or the Lord, in a different way. Because sometimes I think what happens is, because we're so used to listening to these songs and playing these songs, if we put them on to worship to them, we get caught in, oh, he didn't do that, or what's he doing there, or what, we're picking apart the music.
Right.
And so it's like, for me, one of the most refreshing things sometimes musically can be to listen to like orchestral music, because I have nothing to do with that. There's no instruments that I play that are the same. Like go and listen to like a movie soundtrack, or go, find something. Or if there's worship music that is, it is just, a couple steps away from anything that you would ever play on Sunday, maybe like get into worship that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. And then just, man, it's early for a lot of these sound check times. Like, do your best to show up, with a good attitude, be real. You don't have to be a faker ever. You don't always have to be fine. That's like our classic Sunday morning. Like, I'm fine. I'm doing great. God's good. Like, you don't have to be fine. You don't have to dump all your stuff on everybody.
Sure.
But like, if you have people, that you can connect with, like, share what's going on, and, approach Sundays as not just a time to show up musically, although you want to do that, do it with excellence, do it with all your heart, but also approach it as a time to who maybe is that one person that you can have a meaningful conversation with in between worship sets. If you've got like a hang area or a green room or a studio, find one person on your team each week that you can have some kind of meaningful, beyond the set and the songs, like, how's your family, normal stuff, and find out about them and how they're doing. And because that is church. That's like the other big part, besides all of us as a group getting together to glorify the Lord as a family in the Lord. There's also the fellowship side. And so
Yes.
try to have some of that fellowship, because when you're serving, it's a busy Sunday. It can be very difficult to pull that off. So find those moments, even if it's just walking on and off stage. How you doing, man? You know, like ask some good, quick questions that can take things to a place that, you know, you can find out about someone.
Yeah. So. Dude, I love that. Yeah, that's a lot of what I have talked about on here, encouraging people to do that. So I love that you shared that. This is the end. We finally reached it.
We did it.
Yes. Thank you.
We need part 2 and part 3 at some point.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I definitely would love to have you come back on, talk some more gear stuff as always. But thanks for taking some of your morning to do this.
Oh, of course.
I appreciate it. I love it. I loved getting to have you on, talk about your journey. Also, this will be on YouTube. And so below in the caption section, I'll put like your links for like Instagram. So if people want to be able to reach out to you, that they can. I
think my phone number is actually, I could be wrong. I feel like my personal phone number is actually on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
On my Puleo Guitars page.
Okay, nice.
Where people can literally just text me, which maybe is crazy, but yeah, they can DM me, they can text me, they can email. I don't love email. So unless if you really want email, don't do it, man.
Yeah.
Just message me. It'll be, you'll get a faster response.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, and we've even just done like voice messages back and forth. It's easy to do that. Yep. So yeah, but I'll put all that stuff in there so that way, if anybody wants to get a hold of you. But to everybody out there, I can highly recommend David, not only if you're looking for a guitar, but he was the one that wired up my pedal board, and it's been great. I've had zero issues with it and love it. So, but anyways, all that to say, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. Glad that we were able to finally connect on this. So
yeah, man.
Anyway,
yeah, dude, thanks for having me, man. And I feel honored to be among the guests that you've had on here, dude. Some incredible people. So yeah, it's been fun. I love what you're doing, man. So it's been a lot of fun. I appreciate that. Cool. Well, that's it. And that's all the time we got. And I appreciate it. I'll see you later. Man. See you, dude. And welcome back to the Worship Based Coffee Studios. I'm so thankful for David coming on. Thank you again, David, for doing that. Really enjoyed it. And you know what? There's so many more stories. I think we just scratched the surface. I think we'll definitely have to have him on and do a part 2 down the road. Would just love to hear some more stories, especially some of the Bethel stuff. I just think would be great. Transitioning here to the music spotlight. I believe it was me and Phil who had spoke about this particular band. But the band is called Krungben. If you've heard of them, or you've checked them out or not, it's spelled KHRUANGBIN. They're great. Laura Lee is on bass, plays a jazz bass with flats. It's just a 3-piece band, and they're great. There's very little, if no, singing in it, unless there's a guest, and it's just got some vibe stuff. It's like the stuff that I love to listen to when I'm going out on a date with my wife, or I'm on my way home from work and I just need some chill music to listen to. So definitely check them out if you have not had a chance. They're great. Just some great tones. I mean, come on, it's really just a bass with flats is just like the best sound anyway. So definitely check that out. On another note, thank you to the people who have gone to our shop and merch shop and checked it out. Thank you so much. If you want to check it out, it is worshipbasedcoffee.myspreadshop.com. If you're not able to write that down right now, if you go to our Instagram page in the bio, there's a direct link, takes you straight there. Again, there is international shipping with that.
We've got some shirts, some mugs, some travel coffee mugs, and we've also got a hat. Now, it's not this particular hat if you're watching right now. It is a alternate dad hat, because I'm a dad, so got to have a dad hat, which I will have to get one for myself so that I can show it off on here. Thank you for the people who have already purchased some stuff and have tagged us. And so if you purchase something, please tag us, take a picture, tag us, and we'd love to share that on our page, our Instagram page as well. And so thank you for that. And thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it so much. Josh appreciates it so much. We're so thankful for this community as we continue to grow. For the people who have just found us, welcome in again. We're so glad to have you as part of this community. It wouldn't be a community without all of you. So I'm grateful for that. And just to kind of end things here, looking ahead, our next two guests, we're kind of going back to some of our bread and butter here. It's a couple of people, both that are just serve on Sundays. They work 40 hours a week for jobs. And so I wanted to bring back some people like that. I just think those are some of the best episodes for me personally. One of them actually goes to the bridge. And so I can't wait to get to know him a little bit more. And then the other one is just somebody through online that we've had communication with. And so it'll be cool just to get to know him, period. So I'm looking forward to that. That should be great. So again, thank you to everyone out there who has reached out in some form saying that they love the podcast. I can't begin to say how much that means to us. So please, follow us on Instagram. If you can go to our YouTube page, if you're not watching it already, and you can subscribe, that's great. Just trying to grow it more and get it into the algorithm so that more people can find it. And also, you know what? If you guys out there can share too, that would be amazing. Because I know you guys can be advertisers are like, some of the best advertisement is when some person actually shares it to somebody else. So if you could do that, that would be amazing too. So thankful for you guys. Thankful for everything that you've done with this community. And so with that said, guys, we're going to end season 2, episode 2, the same way that we always do. And that is to say, remember to tell someone you love that you love them, and we'll see you next time.